All right, welcome everybody. My name is Alan. This is In the Game, and we're gonna talk about Sport Channel is gonna talk about insights, updates, and some interviews to the most knowledgeable people on sports. And today's episode, we're gonna talk about the playoffs on the NBA that starts tonight. A unique playoffs that it resumed the games after COVID, and we're talking about that three teams that people think that might go to the finals. We're talking about on the Western Conference, LeBron James that is chasing his fourth ring, and the same goes with Kawhi Leonard that is trying to get his third ring with three different teams. Remind everybody that he won last year, and we also have in the Eastern Conference we have Giannis from the Milwaukee Bucks. Everybody's talking about him, the great season that he has so far, and it could determine his long-term future in Milwaukee. So I want to welcome Avishai to say what he thinks who's gonna do well in these playoffs and who might be able to go through in each of the bracket and his prediction on the finals. What are the teams who are gonna go to the finals? Avishai, welcome. You're in the game.
Alan, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here. Love talking basketball. Love talking NBA. So I'll just reiterate the three guys you were talking about, the three teams who are most likely to make the finals, most likely to win the finals, and that's the Lakers, the Clippers, and the Bucks. And each of their three stars, LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, and Giannis, Greek Freak, they all have something to prove. LeBron gets a lot of flack in his career for only having three rings. Even there he went there 9 times now, but he's 3 for 9. So he really wants to win another championship and solidify that legacy. Obviously, he'll go down as one of the greatest players, regardless. But if he wins a couple more rings, some people might start looking at him a little bit more like they looked at Jordan. And then you got Kawhi Leonard, who is trying to prove that he's the best player in the NBA and he can win wherever he goes. He won a championship guarding LeBron when he was in San Antonio. And he went to a Raptors team last year, won a championship there. And now he's going to say, hey, guys, I was on 3 different teams. I won 3 championships. I'm the best. Now, Giannis, the only thing right now keeping everyone from looking at him as the best player in the league, he won the MVP last year. He's likely going to win the MVP again. He's the most dominant player. He's also up for Defensive Player of the Year. But the one thing that Giannis hasn't gotten yet is a ring. So Giannis really, really wants this championship to really solidify his name as a top 3 player, a top player, to really add to his legacy. He's got the MVP. He could possibly get the Defensive Player of the Year award, but no one's going to take him really seriously until he wins that first ring.
Do you believe that, or do you think that Kawhi Leonard it's a better player than LeBron James, or they're in a kind of like even position right now, or LeBron James has more potential to, there's a lot of talks that LeBron James is better than Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan.
So as it stands in their careers right now, LeBron James is 35 years old. He's coming off. He's had an almost MVP season this year at 35 years old in his 17th year in the league. Really, we've never seen anyone do what LeBron is doing right now in terms of longevity. And we know that LeBron kind of turns it on every year once the playoffs start. So we didn't see LeBron in the playoffs last year. We saw what he was able to do. He decided, hey, I'm going to lead the league in assists this year. And we've always known he was a great passer. Kawhi, he has the rings, he has the defense, but I don't know that I would call him a better player than LeBron James. I want to see them head to head. I want to see a Lakers-Clippers Western Conference final. And if Kawhi gets the better of LeBron again, then I think we can say, okay, at this point in their careers, Kawhi Leonard is a better player than LeBron James. But until we see that, I can't count LeBron out just yet.
All right. And do you think that the Milwaukee Bucks has any competition this year on the Eastern Conference?
In the East, it really looks like Milwaukee's going to run away with this, but the Raptors have surprised a lot of teams and a lot of analysts, a lot of everyone this year. The Raptors surprised everyone in the NBA that Kawhi Leonard left, and they didn't really lose that much. Pascal Siakam has taken a huge step up. Fred VanVleet has been playing incredible. Kyle Lowry is always, anchoring that team. They've got a very deep team. They've got a very defensive team. They play as a team, and it really doesn't look like they lost much of a step, even though they lost Kawhi Leonard, a top 5 player in the NBA. So Toronto is the only team I really can see that might give the Bucks a fit if they can figure out how to guard Giannis, because they've got depth, because they've got a bench, because they've got defense. If they can figure out some way to stop Giannis, they might be able to pull an upset there. But beyond that, I think Giannis could really run through the East.
Okay. So if we move on to one of the brackets that we have, and we can start maybe with the Eastern Conference. So we have the Milwaukee Bucks that are playing against Magic, Orlando Magic. What do you think about this? Should be easy for the Bucks, right?
So this series I kind of see as a snooze fest. I don't think the Bucks are going to have any trouble taking care of the Magic. The Magic have played well with what they've got, but they're going against the reigning MVP. They're going against potentially the 2-time MVP in Giannis. They're going against the hottest team in the league in the Bucks, the most wins in the Eastern Conference. I just don't see it being too exciting of a series. I don't see any real scenario where the Magic really put up a fight against the Bucks. I actually see this as a sweep for the Bucks, and yeah.
All right. And moving on, we have the Miami Heat against the Indiana Pacers.
Miami Heat against the Indiana Pacers. This is the most exciting first round series I see in the Eastern Conference, and I'm very excited to watch it. You have a lot of X factors on these teams. Like on the Pacers, you have TJ Warren, who had a huge bubble, averaging over 30 points a game. He put that 51-point game night against the Sixers. Then you have Victor Oladipo, who's getting healthier. You have Malcolm Brogdon. If one of those three guys could really step up, and then all three of them could all play well and all play healthy, I really think the Pacers could surprise people and take this first round series. But the Heat also have a bunch of X factors. Jimmy Butler is a great two-way player. You have Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero, who both stepped up their games in the bubble. They were both averaging 13 and 15 points before the bubble, and then they move up to 17 points. They're hitting threes. Robinson's hitting 3.5 threes per game at a 42% clip. The issue with the Heat I see is that Bam Adebayo, who is their new All-Star, first-time All-Star this year, third-year player. He was a beast in the regular season before the break, but his game kind of slowed down in the bubble. He went from averaging 16 points a game and 10 rebounds to 13 points a game and 7 rebounds in the bubble. So I really see the Pacers kind of finding themselves and really catching heat with their with their Brogdon and with their Oladipo and with their TJ Warren. I really think the Pacers can pull out this series. I'm excited to watch it. I think it's going to go 7 games, but I'm calling it Pacers in 7. That's how I see it right now.
All right, interesting pick there. And then we have the Boston Celtics against the Sixers, the 79 Sixers. I think the Boston Celtics have been doing great this year, no?
Boston has been playing, incredibly. Once Boston has everybody healthy, they're a real nightmare. I mean, you got Kemba Walker, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Gordon Hayward, who are all, in my opinion, all-star caliber players. And if they're hitting on all cylinders, it's going to be really tough to beat the Celtics. Giannis, I think, can bust through them with his dominance and his size, but it's a really tough draw for any other team to beat these Celtics. I think they got to get kind of an easy draw here against the 76ers without Ben Simmons, because the Sixers are another team that could dominate with size. And, I think that's kind of a weakness for the Celtics on defense. But the 76ers are injured. They don't have Ben Simmons. Embiid is dealing with an ankle, a hurt ankle, though he's going to be able to play through it. But, he's always kind of, ailing, it seems, Joel Embiid. So if he's already going into it with a bum ankle and no Ben Simmons, I really don't see the 76ers having much of a chance. So I think the Celtics will take this in probably 5 games.
All right. And last but not least, we have the Raptors against the Brooklyn Nets.
Right. So the Raptors, as I was talking about before, they're an incredibly surprising team on this season. Now, the Nets are also a surprising team too. They acquired Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant last offseason. Kevin Durant hasn't played at all. Kyrie Irving has played sparingly and hasn't done much. But both of these teams have really exceeded their expectations on this season. The Nets to finish as a 7th seed with make the playoffs with Karis LeVert being their best player, and that's no offense to LeVert, but him leading a team basically to the playoffs is a huge accomplishment. So I just want to give credit where credit's due. That the Nets have put together a great season, and when they add Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving to their lineup, they're going to be they're probably going to be the favorites in the East next year. We'll see what Giannis has to say about that. But I can't imagine the Raptors as hot as they are right now after the bubble, losing this series in anything more than 5 games. So I'm calling this one Raptors in 5.
All right. And then we move on to the Western Conference. Let's start with the Lakers, Portland, that they basically qualified yesterday to the playoffs.
So the LakersBlazers, I'm very excited to watch. I think it's going to be one of the most intriguing 1 seed versus 8 seed series that we have ever seen. Now, the Lakers get a really, really tough draw here in the Blazers. The Blazers are probably the hottest team in the entire bubble. And they're just scoring buckets. The Blazers, since the bubble started, they played 9 games, including the play-in game against the Grizzlies. They've scored at least 115 points in each of those, in 8 out of 9 of those games, while the Lakers have really, really struggled. They're 3-5 in the bubble. They half the games in the bubble, they didn't even score more than 105 points. So this is really a hot team versus a cold team, and the Lakers are really cold right now, and you can never count LeBron James and Anthony Davis out. That's a huge thing to have. You have 2 of the best players in the world. It doesn't really matter how cold they could be. LeBron, when he turns it on in the playoffs, he can raise anyone up. But the Lakers are really, really struggling to find that third guy that could really serve as a scorer. We thought it was going to be Kyle Kuzma, who's actually playing well, 15 points a game in the bubble and hitting the 3 at a pretty good clip. But he needs to be more consistent if the Lakers are gonna advance. I think they will get past this first round. I have the Lakers in 6. Another thing that's going to be exciting to watch is the LeBron versus Carmelo Anthony factor. We haven't seen that since Carmelo's days in the Knicks. Actually, you know what? I think Lakers in 7. I think this could go 7 games. I think Damian Lillard is, showing that he's a top 10, top 5 potentially player in the league right now. Definitely a top scorer. But I think the Lakers and LeBron have a little bit too much experience. Their defense is a little too good. I see this going 7 games, but I think the Lakers will take it home in 7.
Yeah, I wanted to actually also comment on these games. I think the Blazers are coming strong. As you mentioned in the bubble, they were fighting for this last spot on the playoffs. And Lillard is playing an amazing game this year and hitting 40, 50, even 60 points a game. And it could be interesting that if LeBron and Anthony are not going to be in the top of his game, it could be that the Blazers might be surprising here. Don't you think?
I really do think so. It's totally in the realm of possibility that the Blazers win this series. My prediction is still the Lakers will take it in 7, but if Lillard is scoring the way he's scoring and Nurkic has stepped up and Carmelo Anthony is a great third option for them and CJ McCollum is feeling healthy, I really think the Blazers could outscore the Lakers. It's not impossible. This really could be a 1-8 upset where the 8 seed wins. Anything can happen, in a crazy season like this where there's a 4-month break in the middle. I definitely think the Blazers could take this series. I just wouldn't quite put my money on it yet.
All right, and then we have an interesting bracket. No, we have the Clippers against the Rockets. The Rockets that have been disappointing in the past 2 years. What do you think about this?
The Clippers. Well, the Clippers are against the Mavs in the first. Clippers, Mavericks, Thunder, Rockets.
Right. I apologize for that. Sorry, the Thunders against the Rockets.
So yeah, this is a very exciting series, and it potentially got a little bit more exciting with Russell Westbrook's injury. The Thunder are a team that no one gave a chance to this season. Chris Paul got traded there, so they got Chris Paul, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Danilo Gallinari. Like that's their team. No one even gave them a chance, and here they are in the playoffs with a first round draw against the Rockets, who are missing Westbrook potentially, for multiple games in this first round. I think it could be a very exciting series. I still would give the edge to the Rockets. I think, despite James Harden's difficulty come postseason time, he's going to make it out of the first round. I have Rockets will take this in 6, depending on how quickly Westbrook can get back into the lineup. But again, the Thunder are another team to give huge credit to for coming as far as they come. Chris Paul still apparently clearly has a lot left in the tank, and he really led this team to be a playoff team. I love the fire they show. I love the defense they play. I love the team-oriented ball they play. But at the same time, I don't know if they have enough firepower to keep up with the Rockets. You got James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Eric Gordon, Robert Covington. You got PJ Tucker. You got everyone. They're just draining threes. And I don't know if the Thunder are going to be enough to stop them, and beat them 4 games. I think I'm taking Rockets in 6. It could be sooner if Westbrook comes back. Could be 7 if Westbrook doesn't come back at all.
All right, and then we have kind of an even match between the Denver Nuggets and the Jazz.
Yeah, I really like this. I really like this series, Nuggets Jazz. I mean, you look at the Western Conference, and there are huge names like James Harden, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Russell Westbrook, and all these guys. Luka Doncic, who we'll talk about next. And the Nuggets Jazz, it could come off as lackluster because they don't have any huge names. I mean, you got Jokic and you got Donovan Mitchell, both rising stars, both incredible players. But what I really want to see in this series is the emergence of Michael Porter Jr., who really came on during the bubble and had a couple of 30-point games. Really showed that he was worth that draft pick. When he fell to the Nuggets at, I think it was the 15th or 16th spot in the draft due to injury. But they've got Michael Porter Jr. ascending. They've got Jamal Murray getting back healthy. And they've got Jokic, the Joker, who can really do it all as a big man. And the Jazz, I just think this, I don't think Donovan Mitchell is quite yet ready to take the step to really lead a team past the first round, really lead a team deep into the playoffs. Mitchell in the bubble is averaging 22 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. I think you need a little bit more out of your star player. I think, I was watching the Jazz a lot in the bubble. I think, Mitchell has the ability to really take a game over. He just needs to really be that dominant presence where sometimes he hasn't taken that step up. It's there sometimes. It's just not there every time. And so I'm calling Nuggets in 6 on this series, but I think it's going to be a lot more exciting than people give it credit for. These teams are both very defensive oriented. They play great team ball, and it's going to be a bunch of exciting games.
All right, and last we have the now this Clippers Mavs. That's gonna be an interesting game, no?
This might be the series I'm looking forward to most. I just love watching Luka Doncic. The man is a walking triple double. He actually, if it weren't for the last game of the bubble where he only played 13 and a half minutes, he was averaging 32, 11, and 11 in the bubble. And people were talking about Damian Lillard and Devin Booker, and rightfully so. They had an amazing 8 games in the bubble. But Luka Doncic was walking around averaging a triple double. And not only that, Kristaps Porzingis looks finally healthy, and he was averaging 30 points and 9.5 rebounds in the bubble. So if you have those two guys, really like the future of the NBA potentially, and they're hot and they're firing on all cylinders, despite what they have in LA with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard and just a truly deep defensive team in the Clippers, I think the Mavs are really gonna give them a lot of trouble. Actually, the game that Luka played against the Mavs, Luka played against the Clippers, he still scored 29 points, but was held to 6 assists and 3 rebounds. So the Clippers might be able to slow him down, but it's going to be a hard-fought series. It's going to be a lot of fun. I just think the Clippers' defense and experience is too much there. Kawhi, we're talking about a 2-time Finals MVP. Kawhi Leonard, I think their defense is going to be too much for the Mavs, but I think the Clippers will take this in 6. But the Mavs are really, really primed to be a powerhouse in the future.
All right, so just to finalize today's episode, you wanna tell your predictions? Who's gonna be on the finals this year?
Yeah, I mean, this is not a very bold call, but for a long time, I thought it was going to be Bucks Lakers, and I really, really I put my faith in LeBron and Anthony Davis, and I thought that LeBron will be able to turn it on in the playoffs, and they'll get rolling. But after watching them in the bubble, it's been really hard to get excited about them. They looked really slow and really cold in the bubble, and I think losing Avery Bradley and Rajon Rondo have something to do with that. But I really wanted to see more from them. They were on such a roll before the season ended. Like, they ended the season with a win against the Clippers and a win against the Bucks, and everyone was so hot on them. But I just haven't seen it in the bubble. And unless LeBron really, really turns it up a couple of notches for the playoffs, I have a really tough time seeing the Lakers make it past the Clippers and past the Rockets. So right now, my finals prediction is going to be Clippers against the Bucks. And I think that the Clippers, with Kawhi's championship pedigree and defense, is going to get the better of them. I just think that they're two similar teams. They play defense, and they have a great deep team, but the Clippers have 2 superstars in Kawhi and Paul George, and we know from last year that Kawhi is able to lock down Giannis when he needs to. So I think the Bucks will make it. I think the Clippers will make it. And my prediction right now is that the Clippers are going to win the championship.
All right.
As
All
much
right,
as I would love to see the Mavericks knock them out, or I would love to see the Rockets knock them out. That would just be exciting basketball. But as of now, just the two Clippers have too much in their favor. They got Kawhi. Kawhi's a walking championship right now. So.
All right. So thank you very much, Avishai, to be in the game. Very valuable your comments on our first episode, and I'm looking forward for the next one to see how the brackets are going on these playoffs 2020 in the bubble in Orlando, Florida. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. Looking forward to talking about the next round.
All right. Thank you, everyone.